So everybody's got the big question on their mind. This whole situation involving Sean Combs, also known as P-Diddy, Puff Daddy, Brother Love, whatever he's calling himself this decade. But when I look at this situation, a lot of people kind of assume that he was wrong. They assume that he done something, and I'm not saying the man doesn't live uh, uh, a degenerate life. I'm not saying that he doesn't live alternative lifestyle. I don't know anything about him. But when I look at the news reports after these so-called raids, all they found was some guns in his house in Florida and in California. Okay, there's a large percentage of Americans, if you raid their home, you'll find some guns. You'll find some firearms. They didn't even say anything about illegal firearms. They didn't say he had an inordinate amount of ammunition. They didn't even say he had an inordinate amount of firearms. I mean, he might have had a pistol. You don't know if that was for his security team. You don't know where it was found. You don't know under what circumstances the firearms is found, but that's it? All you found was some firearms? You took the security system from the man's house, and people are making a big deal about he had the best security system that money could buy. But the question is, what more would a billionaire have other than the best security system that money would buy? When you're a world-known person with a bunch of crazy people out there who call fans of fanatics. So at this point, I see a lot of smoke, but I see no fire. I see a lot of contrivance. That's what I see. Now, I don't know anything about Puff Daddy. I know back in the day he used to have some wild parties and there was a lot of people that used to go there. But as I'm looking at this now, I'm looking at what the Justice Department did in raiding this man's house, and all they found were some guns. His so-called drug mule, this 25-year-old kid, they found some marijuana gummies and some cocaine, and it wasn't a lot of cocaine. It seemed like it was personal use. That's the amount. And he was entering onto a private plane. What's going on? What are we dealing with here? And then for somebody, they're saying, well, what about all these lawsuits against him? Well, hey, there was his girlfriend, Casey, who he dated for some while, and she sued him under the survivors statute of limits extension that New York State has allowed. So she filed a suit against she got some money, and she went on about her business. And then you had this guy, Rodney Jones, who came behind him, who was apparently an employee of Motown and Universal Music Group, who was hired to do 9 songs for P. Diddy. And so P. Diddy apparently had an agreement with Motown and Universal Music Group to do an album. So they had a contract saying, we're going to do an album together. They hired this producer to do 9 songs. He was paid from this company. And so as he was hanging out with Sean Combs / P. Diddy, he saw some debauchery. He saw some drug use. There was a shooting outside of the music studio in L.A. A shooting in L.A. Oh my God, that's got to be news somewhere, but not to me. We've been hearing about shootings in L.A. since there was an L.A. But him seeing that, him being around Puff Daddy, and apparently there was some inappropriate propositions made, I guess. But now you want to sue Universal Music Group and Motown because you're saying that Puff Daddy had a partnership with them. Puff Daddy had a partnership with them, and then apparently you're basing that notion that they had a partnership on some websites that you saw somewhere. That seems in itself to be just a money grab. He thinks he's going to be able to do what Casey did. And when I examine the actual lawyer who's involved in the case, a gentleman named, I believe, Tyrone Blackburn, he's only a 5-year lawyer. So he's trying. It's not a case I would bring, especially since he's got to prove some things that they're already disproven, especially consider since he's had to amend the lawsuit twice and dismiss at least 3 defendants inside the first month it was filed and hadn't served anybody. That tells me a lot as an attorney. That tells me, yeah, I might have just been trying to scare up a few quick dollars and see what I can get. But then it all backfired and it got hot real quick. Bottom line is, man, people seem to be making a big deal about this situation with P-Diddy and these allegations. And so far, they're coming up snake eyes. Now, I'm not saying that the Justice Department won't make up something just to try to hold him responsible, just to try to cover for the fact that, you know, they bit at the wrong bait. I mean, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, yeah, they jumped the gun a little bit on this one. I mean, unless they're going to say he was tipped off and he flushed all the dope and down the toilets and all the sex tapes down the toilets, you know, I'm just going to say that I believe they jumped the gun, and I think this is just another case of being guilty while being black and rich. That's what I think. I think this is just another instance where the federal government is practicing overreach. And for you white folks who are listening to me, a lot of y'all support Donald Trump, and you've been saying the same thing. When the government wants to get you, it comes to get you. There was an old saying back in the day that you can't win against City Hall. And what I see right now is the government just basically targeting people. That's what I see happening. You got folks who are committing all sorts of crimes who aren't even from this country, and the government is arresting them and letting them go the next day without bail. And then you got folks who generally haven't committed anything that I know about, and so based on some civil lawsuit allegations, you deem him guilty by allegation, and you decide to go raid his homes on 2 different coasts, and you don't find anything but some guns. And when is possessing guns illegal in the United States? When it's, especially considering these latest Supreme Court rulings. And we got a whole Second Amendment that says we have a right to bear arms, which has been interpreted multiple times by the highest courts in our land. It's nothing illegal about that. There's nothing illegal about that. So we have to begin to ask ourselves, what are we doing here? And whether you like P. Diddy or not, and I'm going to just tell you, I've never really been a big fan of P. Diddy. I just, you know, I remember his music from back in the day, some great songs. I bob my head to it, yeah, you know. But I'm definitely not a fanatic. I'm not a fanatic. But what I do know is, what I do recognize is a public lynching when I see one. I do recognize the government trying to flex its muscles, especially since all they're getting from Donald Trump is a mush in the face. I do see them trying to flex their muscles against P. Diddy to make an example out of somebody. Maybe try to get their balls back, right? You didn't get that white billionaire that you wanted to get, so you're going to go ahead and go after this black billionaire who may have less social capital and less support. But still, it's just the government. It seems to me just to be a governmental overreach. If all they have is some guns and a young white boy trying to get on a plane with some marijuana gummies and a thimble full of cocaine, and they're trying to say this man's a sex trafficker, they're trying to say this man is a gun runner. Really? Where the guns at? You find more guns. You can find more guns down in Brownsville, Texas, on the border, in the typical Texan's house than you will in P. Diddy's mansions. I mean, I'm just saying. I mean, when I look at this, it's like, okay, it's a bit overreach, and then we got And you know, the black community, black YouTube, black Twitter just take stuff and run with it. Black TikTok will take a story about a black person and they will just, like chickens in chicken feed, they'll just mess it all up. You won't even know what's true and what's not. By the time we get through with this, P-Diddy will be a Martian who invaded the, you know, who invaded the United States and the earth, set up shop in the United States, and was and was the person in charge for the assassination from all our greatest leaders. You see? Isn't that not even waiting for the facts to come out? You're so quick to trounce upon your own without giving them the benefit of the doubt. And that's really sad. That's really sad. And I'm talking to black folks at this point. This man is a multi-millionaire, darn near billionaire icon, and you're ready to crucify him along with the dominant society because of some guns and some white boy has some cocaine and some gummy bears on a private plane down in Miami, of all places. Because the feds came in and seized some cameras in his $1 million house. What multimillionaire doesn't have an extensive video surveillance system? It would be stupid not to have it. So I'm just here to say this. I'm here to say, slow your roll, brothers and sisters. Slow your roll. Stop jumping on the bandwagon. Stop participating in the assassination of this man's character. You don't know what he did, or if he did anything. We don't know. And whatever he did, I'm sure it's been done before. Yeah, he might be a debaucherous dude. He might be a switch hitter. He might be a rainbow rider. He might be a bussy warrior. Is that what y'all call him, bussy warrior? He might be a bussy warrior. But whatever the hell he is. What I don't see is sex trafficking and drugs. The man's been a billionaire. Why does he have? Why is he taking? That's just stupid. If P. Diddy was a big time drug dealer, a transporter, we would have known years ago. Years ago. He would have been exposed years ago. So y'all need to chill with all these conspiracy theories, and let's see if and when they actually charge this man and what he gets charged with. Stop jumping on the bandwagon. Black folks need to stop being the first ones in line to lynch your own. It's like they got a lynching party and y'all in the front row. And these are y'all people. The same ones that used to dance to his music back in the 90s and the 2000s. You in the first line, you the first ones in line cackling and grinning and waiting to see him lynched. That's terrible. You're horrible people for that. Horrible. No loyalty. No racial loyalty. And yet you want black folks to be loyal. You want other black folks to be loyal to you, and look at the loyalty that you show to your so-called icons. Horrible people. Nobody respects that. Anytime you the ones first in line to lynch your own people, you have no respect in the community, the world community. Nobody wants to be like you. You should reserve your judgment for after all the facts are in, generally speaking, but definitely when it comes to your own. Especially you black men. And I'm talking to black men right now. I'm talking to all of y'all. You're so quick to jump on the bandwagon and help destroy the reputation of black men. And you wonder why we have such a negative reputation. It has a large part to do with our own participation in it. If you can't defend your own, if you won't defend your own, why should anybody else defend you, man? You quick to throw your own under the bus because of allegations made in some random lawsuit, which is probably going to get dismissed anyway. That's what you basing this on? The truth is, y'all want to see each other broke. The truth is, black folks, black Americans in general, we all want to be successful. We all want to be rich, but we hate the rich when it's our own. That's a problem that exists in America generally. We We want to be rich. We idolize the rich, but then we hate the rich. It's a schizophrenic way of seeing things. But with black people, that whole schism is on steroids. Once one of us gets successful, the whole crabs in the bucket mentality kicks in. Oh, he must be part of the boule. Oh, he must. So what are you saying? Every time a black person becomes successful, they automatically become the enemy. And for you guys who don't understand, the boule is like, back in the day, it was like this fraternity or something like this. It's this first fraternity, and I think in French it means like advisor to the king or something like that. It's a nickname for an old black fraternity that's been around for hundreds of years and used to be elite upper echelon black folks in it. And so a lot of black people who were uneducated, didn't have money, they would look at them like the bad guys, because basically, like, we don't want to be with y'all, y'all ghetto, hood, country, you're around here doing debaucherous stuff. We don't want to be associated with you. Same thing with organizations like Jack and Jill. They wanted their little black kids to deal with other little black kids who are upper middle class. It really wasn't about color. It was about how you behaved. Let me say that again. It wasn't about light skin, dark skin. It was about how you behaved. Did you behave yourself like a decent a person who has some sense, or were you out here cutting up, acting a fool? If you trying to do something for yourself and do, you got invited in, and so did your kids. And so they separated themselves. And so the people who were left out, instead of looking at that and say, yeah, that's something I want to be, I need to change my behavior, you tried to force them to conform to your low-level behavior. And they kept putting you out, and now you ostracize them and say they're the enemy. And it wasn't a problem until you had a lot of black folks coming up from down south with that same debaucherous behavior, that same ghetto country, shoot 'em up, bang, bang, juke joint behavior. And there was more of them in these major American cities where you already had black folks in Detroit and Chicago as early as the early 19th century, or 1880-ish and 1920. And then all these black folks came up during the Southern migration, and they just kind of saturated, just surrounded the upper elite and the upper echelon. And then at that point, you had the power. Black folks had the power in numbers to demonize our elite. And so we made them the enemy. So now anytime a black person gets successful, they're automatically the boule. They're automatically the enemy. And so what do you think happens when you ostracize those amongst you who are rich and successful? How do you think that's going to work out for you? Those who are most successful in your race, who come from amongst your ranks, you treat them like the enemy. You ostracize them. You treat them badly. Do you think they're going to want to come back and try to help and pull somebody up? No. You just made an enemy out of your own. You just made an enemy out of one of your own kings, one of your own people who could possibly do more for you. You just turned them to the enemy. So why would they help you? They have no incentive on helping you. And that's just something that we're going to have to change. Not everybody who is successful is your enemy. Except that, but nobody owes you anything, and I'm talking to my brothers. So when I look at P-Diddy, the reason you feel that way about him, because there's animosity towards P-Diddy. You try to find every little thing. Most of y'all, some of y'all doggone daddies and granddaddies been in and out the penitentiary, and they've been bussy warriors. Your mama's a switch hitter. Miss Colleen that used to come over your mama's house. They be in the room smoking weed. You don't know what they was doing in there. They was probably messing around. It was probably in there doing the scissor dance. You know what I'm saying? Two little scissors together. You know what I'm talking about? So, you know, as far as debauchery's been going on in the black community, in the ghetto and in the upper echelon. But the bottom line is, you're so quick to dismiss the rich. The rich amongst us, the successful amongst us. Whether it's somebody like Ben Carson, you don't like, he was all good when he was this great heart surgeon, but the minute he decided to go join Trump's administration, now he's a bad guy. This man is still a world famous heart surgeon who did groundbreaking work. And he's one of us. But you want to ostracize him because he's successful. He's getting too much shine. And that's your problem. You're jealous. You're a jealous people. You're a very jealous people. And that's going to be your downfall. You want what the white man has. What you have is not good enough. You don't want to live in your own communities. You don't, do you? As soon as you get some money, you move out the black community. You don't want to be around nobody look like you. You want to drive the white man's European car. You want to ride, you want to have his status symbols. It's a lot of black women, they want the white man himself. Always have wanted him. During the apex of slavery, it was, shoot, the black women doing the best are the ones that had a white man or a white daddy or a white lover who freed them and gave them land when he died. They all wanted him. Even over in the motherland, when you look at books like Daughter of the Trade, these black women had a choice to stick with their own people. They say, no, come on down, European slaver. I'll marry you and I'll help you set up shop. Whole families of Africans on the west coast of Africa, daughters would marry these European slavers. They'll set up shop and got rich behind it. You always want what the white man offers. You don't mind helping the white man getting rich. You think that's what's supposed to happen. But then you black folks, when your own people get rich and get money, you want to tear them down. That's the crabs in the bucket mentality. And you wonder why so many black professionals don't come back to the hood. And speaking on myself, I'm an attorney. I'm a Hall of Fame attorney according to my law school, who's inducting me into the Hall of Fame for lawyers. And when I come back and talk to you, you don't truly appreciate it, do you? Tell the truth. Tell the truth. Shame the devil. You go out of your way to try to make it seem like, oh, he's a bad guy. So you know what? I'm going to play the role. I'll be the bad guy. I don't mind being the bad guy. But if I didn't care about you, I wouldn't talk to you and I wouldn't help you. If I didn't care about you, I wouldn't tell you about your degenerate behavior. I wouldn't tell you about your jealousy. I tell black women all the time about their degenerate behavior, and they don't want to hear about it. And now they got the highest rate of incarceration. I saw this coming 5 years ago. This is the direction you headed. As long as we as a people generally keep tearing down our rich, tearing down our successful, we're going to run them off. They're going to go to other communities. They'll come back and give us a few trinkets, but they're not going to be all in. So what I'm trying to suggest to you all, use this P-Diddy situation as a test case. Don't lynch this man based on rhetoric, based on allegations in some civil lawsuit, based on what we've seen the U.S. government and the law enforcement system do to black men for centuries now. Jump the gun, prosecute the wrong one, make a big deal out of something that when there's nothing there. Let's not do that. Let's not pile on. Let's not be the ones who help assassinate and destroy the character of our most successful. Period. That should be written down in the code because that's what everybody else does. We can't castigate and destroy the wealthiest and the richest and the smartest and the most educated amongst us and ostracize them and call them names and tell them they're evil and call them boule and treat them like they're the other and tell them they're agents and then still think that they're supposed to come back and help us when we need help, those of us who are downtrodden, living in the hood and the ghetto. It don't work like that. That goes against human nature. Something to think about.